Hi guys, welcome to our online AGM for 2020-21. Of course this is happening in very unusual circumstances, so firstly sending out loads of love to all of our members who are currently stuck in isolation due to the coronavirus outbreak. There will be some exciting things coming up in the next few weeks, so do keep an eye on Theatre with Teeth as we'll try and help you, through this. But yeah, welcome to our AGM. So I'd like to begin the AGM by just kind of saying this whole thing has been recorded completely out of sequence, hence why we're starting off relatively dark and then you'll go lighter, as was filmed much earlier in the day, and it will switch back and forth. I've tried my best. I'm not very good with editing and stuff, so hopefully this will come together. The way that this is going to work is that I would very much like to run it as close to an in-person hustings as possible, which includes speeches from the current committee members in those positions, then listening to the speeches from the candidates for next year. We'll also have in a second a bit of a review from me about the whole year and what I wanted to achieve with the year. We'll also hear a little bit from our treasurer Luke about our financial situation a little bit later on. But mostly I think the biggest thing that I would like to get across in this video is that the AGM is usually it's one of my favourite times of year when we get all of the people who love Theatre with Teeth in one room and we basically gush about how much we love the society and what we all want to do to support it. So I'm very glad that although we can't meet in person, we are able to do something similar in an online capacity where we still get to hear from all of our members and all of our candidates. So I'd like to start by just kind of having a bit of a look back at my manifesto from last year and kind of analysing, how much we've achieved this year, because I think it's important to acknowledge how far we've come. We've had a bit of an overhaul since last year. I kind of wanted to shake things up a little bit. So the first thing that I had put on my manifesto from last year was that I wanted a reduction in the number of shows that we performed in order to maximise the attention that each show received from both committee and our demographic audience. Quality over quantity was a big thing that I'm sure my committee members are very sick of hearing by now. I would say that we've been pretty successful in doing that. We ordinarily would run sort of 5 to 6 shows. This year we've run 4, duet, me, myself, My Mother the Stranger and Born in the Dark. Yeah, 4 shows, which I hope have felt like they have had much more attention from the committee than we've previously been able to give. We also had a bit of a reshuffle in the ordering of things and had me, myself, our Edinburgh Fringe show begin in term 1 because I wanted to maximise the number of rehearsals that he'd get in over the months. It was a bit of a risk because it could have potentially meant that the show would get a bit stale at some points, but actually I've been so impressed with the whole team this year and how they've managed to keep the momentum going, and it's been honestly one of the loveliest projects to watch from afar. They've had more or less no problems, and it just, every time we walk into their rehearsal room, it just feels like a big old sense of love, which I think is particularly worth noting given the kind of longevity of their project, and his hoping it will still go ahead in August. The second point on my manifesto from last year was that I wanted a bigger push on welfare for both committee members and our society members, with a much closer attention on departmental engagements and inter-society relations. So what I really wanted to maximise within the committee particularly, therefore kind of filtering down into the rest of the society, was an understanding of our individual needs making sure that we as individuals look after ourselves and look after each other, so that we're able to do the work that is set in front of us within committee and within the society as best we possibly can, because we're not, hopefully by that point, wouldn't be so run down and so exhausted that everything is just a chore. I think by looking after ourselves, you're able to keep motivation going, and with a reduction in shows and, you know, quality over quantity again, I think it was a thing that I really wanted to push in order to make sure that everybody was on the same page and really looking after themselves in order to ultimately look after the society as a whole, and be able to do all the things that we pride ourselves on. I would say that we have at least come a very long way in doing that this year. I would hope that my committee members would agree when I say that everybody has an equal voice in our committee. Everybody is there every week in our meetings, unless of course, you know, they can't make it for whatever reason, and they have to look after themselves. But generally, the most part, we've had all of our committee members there at every event, at every opportunity, supporting us, regardless of what role they actually have. They have a very integral part of how the society runs, and I think that largely comes down to the fact that we really have looked after each other. We begin every meeting every week by asking a question like, everyone tell me something great that you're looking forward to next week, and I think it's just about us, you know, really bonding as a committee, and the more that we ask those questions to each other and we look after each other, the more that your committee are likely to ask those questions to your society members, and for the love to be spread. The next point on my manifesto was that I wanted there to be a pre-planned schedule for the term's key upcoming events, including bike workshops, which were to be distributed on flyers in Freshers Week at the beginning of each term. Now, I did manage to create an annual schedule, which is something that I think has been really, really useful this year. I'll just get it up now. Although it was probably slightly ambitious to get everything printed on flyers at the beginning of every term, because naturally, you know, events change week by week. We couldn't have a solid sort of answer by the beginning of term. Having a working annual schedule, which looks like this, has meant that at every opportunity throughout the year, we've been able to have a complete overview of exactly what's coming up, and when events are happening, including sort of through the holidays, and all throughout the sort of Easter break and then into term 3. And this kind of planning, we had this document from the very, very beginning of committee, and this kind of forward planning meant that we could get things in our diary sooner, so committee were available, we could give people information sooner, and ultimately we were just much more organised as a committee. People knew exactly what was going on. It meant that we could up communication with one another, so that things can get done on time and in plenty of time, and setting deadlines. It meant, with planning it so far in advance, it means you can set deadlines much, much earlier, so that things can be, you know, there's no sort of mad rush when something's coming up, to get things done. So that was our pre-planning for the upcoming events. And my last kind of point on my manifesto from last year was that I really wanted there to be a bigger emphasis on theatre within Jawbreaker, drawing on our bike participants and offering opportunities for new monologues and duologues to be performed and developed by our members. Now, although unfortunately Jawbreaker is currently on pause, we have had a massive emphasis on bringing theatre, new emerging theatre, outside of just our main term shows. So in term 1, we had our 2-in-1 night. So alongside the scratch performance of me, myself, we had 3 bite readings read per night, or was it 2? I can't remember. We had a selection of bite works that got read alongside the scratch. This meant that we then had a whole night of scratch performances. Tickets were suggested donations, which means that, you know, people kind of came in with this expectation of giving feedback, and it's not a sort of finished product. It meant that throughout Jessa's beautifully planned workshops throughout term 1, she was able to structure them so that they led up to something and had a purpose, ultimately kind of coming in conjunction with the whole revamp that Bites had. I really wanted it to have purpose this year, because in the past we have had Bite workshops, and often they fizzle out after 3 or 4 weeks. No one really wants to keep them going, and it's a shame, because there are lots of keen writers. We know we get many submissions through every single term. We know there are people out there. It was just about giving them something that they felt like they were being useful in. And so, having structured Bite workshops, we had a group of regular people who came and who wrote short pieces to be staged in a sort of very scratchy way. And it just means that we then were able to give more people the opportunity to get their work performed, even if it's not in a kind of polished product, something that people have worked on for months on end, which I think was something I really wanted to emphasise about valuing every single member of our society and what they contribute to us. And I wanted to make sure that people felt like they were listened to and they were heard, and they had the opportunities that they had any opportunities that we could give to them. So that is kind of a bit of an overview of what I wanted to achieve in the year and how we've managed to do it. I'll admittedly say I'm very, very proud of how we as a committee have worked this year. I've never once felt like there has been a strange hierarchy between us or in the society. I've been so impressed with the new freshers that have arrived, and people in second year and third year alike who have never got involved before and who have really sort of shown what they can do. I'm most proud of the love and commitment that my committee have shown. We meet every week, we laugh, we chat, we get down to business, and we meet again the next week. And there is something that very heartwarming that I'm going to miss when I leave. God, I need to stop getting all emotional. So I would love to just send a big old thank you out to my committee, and especially a big sorry, because obviously we find ourselves in very unprecedented situations, and unfortunately we haven't had a chance to say goodbye to one another. But rest assured, this is not the end just yet, and although we are electing a new committee, we still have unfinished business, so I'm not going anywhere just yet. But yeah, thank you. That's all I can really say is thank you. I don't really know what I'm going to be like without the Twitties as a part of my life. To be honest, I'm probably never going to let go, let's be honest. But I think the fact that I've even come this far through 2 years on committee, and I still have the same love that I had for it the very first day that I walked into university, and George and Anna gave me a director position in my first term, a little fresher that nobody knew, and it was that trust in me that I've really wanted to put back to the society. And I really hope that there are as many people in the society this year who feel that we've been able to do that for them as there has been in the past. So now that I've got all of that soppy stuff over, it's time to start the AGM.